Now we were watching the court footage and stuff. Was it kind of, because you said you weren't there at the time.
That's right.
Was it kind of creepy going, this is where I grew up and this is how the reaction is, and it's.
Well, I think part of the impetus for me to want to do the film to begin with was that I left home after college, and so I was very young when I left that area, pretty much for good. I mean, other than to go back and visit my parents. And I had a perception of my hometown that didn't seem to square with what happened when this incident erupted. Meaning, I knew that we lived in a town that was divided by race to some degrees. Even though the schools were integrated, they were sort of separate, and I tell an anecdote in the film about that. But there were two things about my hometown that didn't square with this. One is that my hometown always exalted the great high school athletes. I mean, when the Squires left, there was no professional team. There was never any major college program that captured the imagination. So high school sports was it. And the greatest high school athletes were held in such high regard. And he was arguably the greatest. And secondly, I'd never seen the whatever simmering differences or tensions around race that I had perceived as a young man. I had never seen them so openly on display as at this point in time. So I knew back then that something very significant was going on, and the opportunity to go back and do this story now and try to uncover and understand what exactly caused that to happen was what drove me to want to do the film.
Now, are you bracing yourself for when this airs on ESPN, as far as calls from home and old high school pals? Or?
Well, we did some screenings back in my hometown a couple of weekends ago, and they went quite well. I mean, we know from the blogs on the local press when a columnist wrote an admiring piece about the film in conjunction with the screenings. When you look at the blog responses to that, these are from people who haven't even seen the film yet. It's clear that if people watch it widely, that there will be quite a strong reaction, pro and con, I think. But one of the things I try to do in the film, which I think will surprise some of the people who are anti-Iverson who are blogging in, is I really do try to represent the different sides and opinions on Allen Iverson and on this incident. It was important to me that even though I arrive at my own conclusions about what happened and what was right and wrong, and you hear them late in the movie, it was important to me that this film give you, the viewer, an opportunity to make your own decision about these things. So the film has a point of view ultimately, but I hope it doesn't play at the expense of giving you all sides.
Now in this film, and I guess in Hoop Dreams too, there seems to be the threat of Nike. And in this movie, you have the part where basically Nike drags them off the basketball camp. And in Hoop Dreams, I believe wasn't it a Nike camp where like Spike Lee came and talked to the high schooler?
Yeah.
It seems like it's a company that really doesn't think before it attaches itself to kids at this age, and it almost gives them too much of a feeling of the success is going to be mine because hey, they're already taking me at this level and giving me this stuff. Imagine what's coming next.
Yeah, I mean, Nike. It's probably unfair to single out Nike in particular because it's the issue of shoe companies across the board involvement in amateur sports is a really complicated issue. Since we did Hoop Dreams, the business of basketball has mushroomed. I mean, people, when they saw Hoop Dreams 14 years ago, expressed shock and surprise at the level of the business and how far it had reached down that you see in that film. By today, that's like the innocent era. And so, I think it is a complicated question and it is a tough question. The shoe companies drive the whole AAU basketball, which is increasingly as important and in some cases more important than high school basketball in the careers of these young athletes. So, it's probably not fair to single Nike out. They may be the 8,000-pound gorilla in some sense, but they're no different from any of the other shoe companies.
I guess they took over Converse. So
Yeah, so they're even bigger.
They are the 800-pound gorilla that eats. Well, anyway, well, listen, and when does this air again?
The film airs on Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern,
Okay.
7 Central, and on and on and on. And then it's rebroadcast a number of times in fairly quick succession on ESPN2 and even ESPN again. So
And do you know if it's coming out on DVD?
it is coming out on DVD. It should be available on DVD around the time of the broadcast.